Hello, everyone. It's Ten Types, as always, joined by Uncommon Fossil on the Reasonably Effective podcast.
Hello, and glad to be here.
Yep, and today we're talking about Pokemon TCG Pocket, which is something that we don't normally talk about that much. We both play like the regular Pokemon TCG. We play it physically a little. We play it online. We like to talk about it. We like to look at lots of different things in that. And Pokemon TCG Pocket is interesting relating to that because in some ways it's like the same game, a lot of the same rules, and a lot of overlap there. Obviously, same like it's Pokemon, right? But then obviously there's differences. Pokemon TCG Pocket, I guess if you're not familiar, is like the regular Pokemon TCG. It's mobile only. There are also some rule differences. Notably, it's smaller and faster. So that's the main one, right? Oh, numbers are lower too, I guess.
Right, less points, prizes slash points. You can attack turn one. You can play a supporter turn one. Some differences like that.
Yep. But overall, it's again, it's like similar to the Pokemon TCG. I'd say because it's in a bit of a weird place. The reason actually, partially why I wanted to do this, because I will, for a little bit of context, both of us don't really do much Pocket, but we've recently gotten back into it a little bit. But then I made a poll on my channel. I was like, what are people? It was like, what are people's or no, it was like, do you still play Pocket? And then it was like yes or no or whatever. And then I get a lot of comments on that. Surprisingly, I think it's my second or third most commented thing on my channel ever, which is like kind of crazy, because I didn't even ask for people to comment. But a lot of people, some people were like really like saying like, oh, they've gotten back into Pocket and they enjoy it, and then some people are saying like, oh, they didn't like it because of certain things which we're going to talk about here today. Some of it's like certain random elements to the game, and some of it is like the collection aspect and different things about it. So yeah, we're going to be talking about that today. And as I said, we're getting back in. So Uncommon Fossil, why did you like get back into it?
Partly, I was getting a little tired of Pokemon TCG Live. I was just finding it a little stale and uninteresting. Um, that was part of it, honestly. And honestly, Live kind of gets me depressed every once in a while too. So that was part of it. And I've never. I was very excited when Pocket came out and played it, and I've never stopped collecting. But I was always like every day. I think since it started, I've opened my packs and done a Wonder Pick. So I think you actually didn't even do that all the time.
Yeah, no, I stopped that. I like kind of stopped Pocket completely, because honestly, obviously, we both do Pokemon TCG YouTube. I've been a little more busy lately with that, as well as just yeah, mostly with that, because it's I mean, I just try to. I don't know. I like to do a lot of different things in the Pokemon TCG, and then I don't know. I did some really big videos over the summer, which took a lot of time. So I kind of stopped that, and then Pocket. I enjoy it. I think it has fun elements, which we're obviously going to talk about here today. But again, I just like only have so much time, and I like the regular TCG a little bit more. And also, as we will talk about, there are some things I didn't like about Pocket. I didn't like really the trading system. I found it was like kind of clunky. I know they have improved it and like talked about improving it and stuff like that. And then also on top of that, there were honestly just a bunch of different nitpicks. Also, there was a lot of randomness, not just randomness, but like coin flip randomness, where um, coin flips can be fun in the Pokemon TCG. I'd say they're fun if there's a lot of them, like 10 coin flips or something. They're not so fun when there's just like one coin flip, or when there's coin flips where like a small amount are very impactful, like with the supporter Misty, or with some other cards we might be talking about. I really don't like Misty, and I will say that that card has gotten weaker throughout the time in Pocket, as well as other cards like it. Like if we look at the Genetic Apex meta, you can see, just like quickly glancing at it, you can look at Moltres EX, you can see Misty, Zapdos EX, trying to look. Oh yeah, Marowak EX, things like this are just like pretty good
Yeah.
cards that are very coin flip dependent. Where a few coin flips can completely like change the game. Versus now in the current format, there aren't so many coin flips. I would say.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, the randomness, obviously, in any trading card game, which this is, randomness is a thing. Different games have different levels of it. Obviously, is a bit of a personal preference, but I would agree with you. There's too much randomness in Pocket in general. I they've nerfed the trainers for Pocket, which I think makes sense, but I also think that increased the randomness. I might want to talk about that a little bit too. But yeah, too many coin flips. Like Marowak was one of the starting decks, right? That you got, so which was coin flippy. There's just too much coin flipping going. Actually, the grass one also I think had coin flipping too, right?
Yeah,
Um,
because I haven't really been playing against people that much because as I said, I like stopped, so I kind of stopped collecting. So I don't really have as many cards as I'd like. I might have some decks that are decent, but I don't have. I don't know. I'll just say right now I'm looking to get Sylveon. I've opened a lot of packs of Eevee Grove and have not pulled any Eevee EXs or Sylveon EXs. So hopefully I'll be getting those at some point. But anyway, so I have been playing against the computer, but you've been playing against people a lot. You said you play against a lot of Celebi.
Yeah, I've been playing a bunch against the computer, but yeah, against people too. And honestly, that's the deck I've seen more than any other is Celebi the with the coin flipping, right? It's flip a coin per grass energy attached. It's 50 damage per heads, and then they have the grass one that doubles up the grass energies, which what stage one I think it is, right?
Stage two, yes, superior.
Stage two
Um,
superior. Yeah, so and I've been running to that, which is odd, and it's not listed as like one of the top decks or top played decks or tournaments, but I guess some people like it, or maybe that's just been my randomness with things. Honestly, I've seen a lot of Celebi, and I've also had a lot of people that concede before turn one. Honestly, somewhere between a quarter to a third of the time, my opponent concedes immediately, which I don't get that. But it's because I'm also when I'm doing it with the ranked mode or whatever. So it's like, why why are you doing this? But it's
yeah,
good for me, I guess.
yeah. And I guess this kind of like leads into the main thing about Pocket and like literally Pocket because it's like a mobile game. I think people are playing it because that kind of the idea of Pocket, I guess, is that it's more casual, getting more people in. Obviously, Pokemon wants money, and the way they're doing it with Pocket is to try to get as many people as they can into the game, and then more people is more money, kind of. And so it is more casual. That could also be why there are more coin flips. You've said this in the past that like Pokemon really really links coin flips to casual play. And there was some of that in Pocket, but then people are also playing faster and sometimes might have games where they're like, oh, I'm playing, oh, something's happened because like they're in the middle of doing something or something like that, so they have less time and aren't necessarily like, sitting down to play the game. So then at that point they might have to quit, which could happen. Obviously, like you shouldn't really be, that wouldn't explain quitting instantly like all the time. But it like kind of explains. I don't know. Maybe I'm just saying something that doesn't really make that much sense anyway.
Yeah, and I don't know if there's like internet issues. Like I know with live, like if you switch your go from like connected to a Wi-Fi to go to roaming or a different Wi-Fi, I think the live like disconnects doesn't reconnect again without quitting. So hopefully live is better than that, but I don't fully know if there's connection issues or not. I'm usually stationary when I'm playing, so I don't have problems even if there were bugs with the program.
Yeah, and I think hopefully as a Pocket will be like is better. I mean, it's designed better programming wise. And
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure, yeah, it will reconnect you. It will like disconnect you temporarily, and you could like miss out on a turn, but I'm pretty sure you don't lose. At least that's been my experience. Not that it's happened that much, because again, like you, I'm mostly stationary when I play it, but that has happened. But also, what decks do you play, or do you want to talk about like the general game, or do you want to talk about more specifics now?
I could talk about some cards, and well, one of the things which you mentioned that you don't like with the game, and I've had issues with is the randomness, and I think because part of it is they want the game to be quick, although it's not as quick as a real quick game, but it's it's kind of is it the right speed for people? That's a personal judgment there. But to make the game faster, they took away the searching your deck for cards, which I get because that does speed it up a lot. So if like Pokemon Catcher just gets a random basic Pokemon, so you
Pokeball.
don't Pokeball. Yeah, I knew I had it wrong, so thank you. Gets a random card, so it's which make I get the design, the idea behind it, but because of that, you're setting up your decks is just so much less consistent. And I always felt like with Pocket, I was not getting the game going often enough. Like I felt like most of the time things just weren't happening. But the new cards, the new legendary Pokemon, which I have two of, I didn't realize I had two of them I had a full playset of is Suicune and Raikou. I don't have a second Entei yet. So,
Okay, okay.
but So I've been playing mostly Suicune, and I realized today when we were prepping for this that I actually had 2 Raikus, and I was like, well, I should play that deck too, which I played once, and because they have the ability, right? What's the ability called
Yeah,
again?
it's called Legendary Pulse here. It's if it's in the active at the end of your turn, you get to draw a card. I will also say I have not been opening Secluded Springs, the newest set. Wait,
Okay.
is that the newest set, or is there a different version
Yeah,
of that
no,
set as well?
that's the newest one
Oh yeah,
I'm
yeah,
pretty
yeah.
sure. So
So yeah, I've not really been opening that. I don't have many of those. But yeah, Suicune EX is pretty good here, and Raikou EX also pretty good here. And I don't know, honestly, I don't know that much about the metagame, but yeah, drawing cards is good. Also, I do want to talk about Suicune. Oh, I don't have this opened up. So Suicune EX, of course, is very familiar or very similar to Suicune V. Which is a Pokemon in the regular TCG. It rotated out like a while ago. But it had a similar ability. If it was in the active, you draw a card, which is a little different than Suicune EX here. And then it has like different lower HP. And then Suicune EX does 20 for each of your for each bench Pokemon, both yours and your opponents. Suicune V does 20 plus 20 for each bench Pokemon, both yours and your opponents. So technically, Suicune V is only doing 20 more, but of course, Pokemon TCG Pocket has less bench Pokemon, so the numbers are fixed in that way. But anyways, like it's really interesting seeing them call very directly to a regular Pokemon TCG card. I think this is the most they've done. I don't know. They obviously. I mean, there's stuff like Potion as well, but Suicune EX definitely I think is pretty cool for that. And of course, like drawing consistency is good as well.
yeah, well, they have Rare Candy, right? That is the same card too.
Oh
But
yes,
but yeah, for Pokemon, these legendary Pokemon, they brought them very similar. Obviously, they brought them all in the same time, comparable ways. Just getting that extra draw per turn, you just get going so much better with the deck. So I like it because I had been playing Water before, which was the Palkia.
Gyarados? Oh, Palkia.
No, Palkia, which is relying on the Misty, which was just really Coinbase flipped. Although honestly, it really wasn't luck dependent because it basically almost always came up heads. I will say, but I could still win the games. That was the funny thing too.
Wait,
But
heads?
I mean, it would come up tails pretty much all the time. Sorry, the first flip would be tails, so I wouldn't get any energy attached. Um, but now so. But that obviously that's part of the luck thing with the Misty's way too luck dependent here. If you get a Suicune in the active your first turn, you set up so well, you're gonna be guaranteed to hit a research by turn 2. You even have the potential to attack on turn 1. Um,
If you're playing Misty, right?
yeah, no, I take that back. I take that back. You can potentially attack your turn 2 going first though, with the deck. No, not with that. That's with the Raikou deck. I
Yeah.
take that back. So, but the same thing, right? So, well, different attacks slightly, but they both draw cards. So just drawing that card, I like it a lot. I think it makes the deck a lot better to me. It just makes the game feel better. And besides that, before I was playing the Suicune and the Raikou, I was playing Darkrai, which I think you have as well, which is still a pretty good deck, but it's a lot less consistent just because whatever you're partnering it with, do you get the right card in the active versus the bench, and and if you're not, you get the right cards to do your retreating, and if you don't, things you just have like 3-4 turns where just you're not doing things the way you need to, and you just kind of feel out of the game.
Yeah. And so like the draw does help, and also Sylveon EX. I think I mentioned at the beginning of the podcast that's the deck I'm targeting. Because on play you draw 2. When you play it from your hand, and evolve one of your Pokemon. So that's like also a nice
Yeah.
draw there. Obviously that's a little different. You're not going to start it as like your basic. So there is some stuff going on there you need to hit, but I think it's a similar idea there. And also like these are Pokemon with draw utility and attacking, damaging utility. So I think they're like
Yeah.
really cool, well-rounded Pokemon as well.
Yeah, like the Suicune, potentially 6 Pokemon you can do 120, so that's a huge number for 2 energies. It's based on bench Pokemon, both yours and your opponent, so your opponent has some agency too, which I think is good, right? Your opponent wants to get Pokemon on the bench to set up, but sometimes you got to hold back. Raikou, which I played some, does 60 and 10 to a bench Pokemon, which again isn't bad. It's not quite what you'd like the numbers, but it's enough to be good. But I think it's low enough it's not too good, so it keeps it in the realm of the reasonable.
Yeah, yeah. And so overall, like I really like the design of these. Even like Entei, I think is is kind of cool. Same ability there with
Yeah.
less. Wait, what is this deck? I just clicked on the deck on Limitless. It's what's this? Suicune? No, it's not Suicune. It's oh yeah, it has Suicune and Entei and Solgaleo. Oh, I guess it's just for draw there. But yeah, you could just use them for draw. But like Entei, a similar idea. The attack's like I don't know. It's 60 for 2, 120 for 4. Um, so again, like similar idea there. And then as I said, they can just be used for draw utility. And I don't know. I like the depth in the cards. I think it's not crazy. I think it like keeps the simplicity that they're kind of going for with Pocket. But I think previously they were like not really doing that with abilities. The abilities like I don't think that um I don't know if I'm wrong on this, but I don't think really any of the EXs at the beginning had abilities, or at least very few, and they weren't like super interesting. I could be wrong on that, but I think it was pretty minimal. Now we see like pretty interesting abilities on EXs that add to the depth, but again aren't too complicated. And even something like Entei EX or Suicune EX or whatever, comparing Suicune EX to Suicune V, there is a decision to be made. Suicune EX, there isn't really a decision to be made. You could, I guess, decide to have it in the active or not, but then like you use it at a certain time, unlike Suicune V, where there's like sequencing stuff. So you could ignore that. And like the sequencing stuff in the regular Pokemon TCG adds value, adds depth to the game, but it's not like crazy, right? It's not like these complex sequencing decisions that can sometimes come up are like completely game swinging. They're pretty small in the grand scheme. They could change the game, but I think removing them for the sake of speed is a good compromise there.
Yeah, I mean, look, in the sequencing is less of a thing. Obviously, you have less time too. It's fun. You have like the timer is what 90 seconds for your turn. So if you do a lot, you've got to fit it in that time, which I guess is good. I don't know if that's it's a little weird perhaps, but um now when you play the Darkrai deck, that one gets potentially sometimes more sequencing just
Yeah.
because you're doing the 10 damage or the 20 damage with that, and then do you want to gust and how do you want to control things? So you get a little more sequencing with some decks, but yeah, it's a more limited in pocket.
Yeah. And like, even I played Darkrai. I still I'm not a big fan of Giratina EX. I know the card is good. I just don't like it that much. I do like Darkrai EX a lot though. So I played like a Darkrai wall deck, which is pretty fun. And that has like more complicated things. It can like lead to longer games. Which I know could be annoying for my opponents, but it is something that I think is kind of interesting there. It is again not like super complicated either. It's not like you're deciding whether or not you're going to really be using abilities. Like it's like, oh yeah, I should definitely be using it. So most of the time it's pretty cut and dry there. And same thing with like the supporters. I mean, it's not like super cut and dry, but like research is the only draw supporter really. And so it's like, oh, if I need cards, I play research, and that's that.
Yeah. I mean, every deck I think I play, you have two research and you have two Pokeballs, right?
Yeah.
There's some variation, and it gets variation after that. I will say another card I like design wise, which was in the previous one, the Wisdom of the Sky, is the Pichu plus the other, I guess I'd say baby Pokemon, right? That have a free attack that lets you accelerate energies to your bench Pokemon, which of course, and you can attack turn one going first in the game, and it's a no energy attack. So it just helps set up and get things going because you don't have control also of the coin flip, right, in pocket, and so and depending on your deck, it makes a big difference, right? If you have a basic attacking deck and you can't attach turn one, like with the old Pikachu deck, it felt really bad, right?
Yeah.
And you had no agency. So now you can build a deck and have a little bit more, like with I slapped in my Pikachu deck, the Pichu just to, if I went first, okay, that works for me too now. So that was a card that gives a little more flexibility. I like that in the game too.
Yeah, and I'd say in general, honestly, I really like the design of the babies, which I'm looking here at Limitless by searching by attack cost to 0, which I believe, yeah, all the babies have free attacks, and all the cards with free attacks are babies. And then they have free retreat and no weakness. And I think they're cool. They are pretty squishy, but I actually like them even more than in the regular TCG, where I think they're like kind of meh. And like, you look at Cleffa in the regular TCG, and that's like pretty well designed. Look at Badu. it's probably, I don't know. I would say it's not well designed because it's like a little too strong and it's like not fun. But I've heard people say it's well designed, and I could see that because it's like it adds nuance to the game, and the rest are just like kind of bad. The babies in Pocket, I feel like they feel more balanced. Something like Azrael's healing like feels, I guess, okay. I don't know. It's not like crazy. But as you said, Pichu and Magby. There's also Mantike. You can use those for energy acceleration. You can use like setup, or like poke damage, and it feels better in Pocket. I feel like they've taken care to not do too much to start with that they can't go back on, and they have ramped it up to make more interesting cards and I guess a little more powerful cards as well, which I don't think is bad. I've heard some people say it's like power creep is an issue when they have kind of increased the power levels some, but they've done it very intentionally to improve the state of the game, I think.
Yeah, it's an interesting question. Because obviously they're monetizing Pocket, right? And I think pretty successfully. So are they going to force people to get the newest cards for competitively? Obviously, what's the ratio of collectors versus competitive versus players, and who's putting money in? They'll have to figure that stuff out. But I don't want to see them forcing us to get new cards all the time. But also because we touched on it. Well, sure, we'll talk about it more because it's hard to get cards if you're a newer player. If there's not a certain amount of power creep, the new players are going to really struggle to get decent decks, right? Because if they could focus more on the newer cards, if you're a newer player, whereas like I have all of the EXs from Genetic Apex, most of them from Mythical Island in Space Time Smackdown, and even Triumphant Light. So, a new player is just never going to get those cards. And if those older cards are equally as good as the newer cards, it's going to make things tough. So that's its own thing with the economy, right? A little bit of power creep helps the newer players get settled in quicker.
Yeah. And then I think we can talk about like collecting cards or like obtaining cards now. I feel like now's a good time to talk about that. Because as you were saying, a newer player will kind of struggle to, I mean, like get older cards, like be able to get like all the cards, certainly not quickly. And then I don't know, I feel like obtaining specific cards though is the issue, which suits collectors more, because there's more of a chase for like getting cards, which is actually what like the live team mentioned when they were like talked about crafting the like arts or something, which didn't actually make that much sense because I feel like live like isn't really a collecting game at all, or very little in that sense. But Pocket is in that way a lot more. So I do like um, kind of get it there. That being said, I think it's a game that people are playing as well, like a lot. I think playing is a very important aspect of the game. I was worried that it wouldn't be, and a lot of people are kind of saying that, but I think it's proven to be that, which is good. But then again, it's like hard to get specific cards. There's the opening packs, which is like you can get you cards, but it's random. There is the Wonder Picks, which it's a similar idea to the packs. It's a little easier, but it's like kind of it's pretty sketchy. And then there's the crafting or whatever it's called, where you can get specific cards, but it's pretty difficult. It's pretty minimal. And then there's the trading, and I think trading kind of completes it. However, trading is my big issue with trading, which is also my issue with it in Pokemon TCG Online, is that you can't trade. Well, you can obviously trade within the game, but you can't really figure out like trades within the game. Like you can't. You need to like coordinate outside of the game, which isn't something that you are really doing with any other aspect of the game. And I don't think it should be a requirement for a game to be like looking at outside sources. I feel like the game should be able to do what it needs to do. I guess you could say like that's also true for tournaments. But that's like I'd say that's different. And then there still are like competitive things within the game that are again exclusively in the game there. So I don't love that there. And then even then I don't think it's like I don't think trading is perfect. I think it's kind of meh. But it is useful.
Yeah, getting cards is tricky, right? There's those four ways to talk about. There's opening packs, which is fairly random, but that's also how it is in real life. So that's kind of fair there. The Wonder Pick system, I honestly don't like it. I feel most of the time let down because it feels like I don't even, I should get the card I want a fifth of the time. Maybe I do, but it feels like I rarely get it, right? Because most 80% of the time you're going to fail. And that's not good. And today, they just started one of those sneak peeks in the Wonder Picks, which they do periodically, where you get to see you get to see a card that you'd pick and then find out if you don't like, if that's not what you wanted, you pick another one, which is good. It helps some. Although even with that, it's random when you get it. So I was like, okay, I'm going to use more of my resources I saved up. I did it 2 times, but to open packs, so the sneak peek's going on, but I didn't do the sneak peek that turn. That time, which I don't think there's a way to know when you're going to get it or not. So again, more disappointment. So the Wonder Picks, to me, I feel bad. I feel unhappy most of the time. So I don't love that. The pack points, you just don't get enough of them, especially because the EXs are what, 500 pack points to craft, I believe.
Yeah.
And you get 5 per pack. So you have to open 100 packs. So unless you're actively spending money, even to get one EX that way is super tough to do, right? You can get like 1 or 2 of the lower rarity cards, but I hate doing that because it's like, well, maybe I'm going to find eventually I can't get that one EX I need, and I need the pack points, so I can't afford to spend them because they're so hard to get. So that's not great. And the trading, it's awkward, like you said, trying to find trade partners. I just don't like that. I know, yes, like they've done things to make it easier, but the whole finding trade partners is awkward. Now we know from Pokemon trading, from the Pokemon trading card game online, you and I and the people that the listeners probably agree as well that played it back in the day. It had a trading thing built in, but it was super clunky, and that would not be an improvement if they brought that to Pocket with all the downside that had.
Yeah, it didn't really have any upside. I mean, I guess it was free, so that's like an upside. But outside of that, like it didn't work well. And then the issue, as I said, of like looking separately was a much bigger issue because there's this like whole economy that was like super complicated. And there were people like taking advantage of like other people, specifically like people who were just like taking advantage of newer players like all the time, and it was pretty rough. And then it would crash a lot. But anyway, so the economy, also in terms of the pack points thing, I've said this before. I think it would be a lot better if the pack points were just pack points in general as opposed to specific pack points, right?
Yeah.
For a specific set. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's a collectible card game or trading card game, and you shouldn't be able to get all the cards you want easily, right? Or without any effort, which is kind of how it is in live, and it's nice, but it's also not how a game should be. You shouldn't be able to obtain all the good decks, but you should be able to attain a deck if that's the one you want. And because you can't really get a card, a game that's not like Magic the Gathering Arena, which is monetized and as a free player, you can't get all the cards and all the decks you want. But they have like a wild card system, so you get every so often you get wild cards of the different rarity levels. So you can then, if you really want deck X, you could save up your wild cards and get that deck, right? We just don't really have that ability in Pocket. So now, if you're good about it, you can make progress. Because like a week or so ago, I looked at like 5 decks I wanted, and I went through them. I had cards for 2 of the decks, or I had the cards for a Giratina Darkrai deck. So I built that. I wanted a Darkrai Arceus deck. I needed 1 card. I pulled that, and then I wanted Suicune, and I wanted a Flareon Eevee deck, which I still need, as well as an Espeon Sylveon deck. So I kind of laid a list of the cards I wanted, made the list of the packs they're all in, and then targeted those packs. And I got 2 of the decks I wanted through. It's annoying, but that's kind of where it's you can get some of the cards and decks you want, but you got to go through the hoop. So is that good, bad? I guess you have to decide about that.
Yeah, I feel like as you said, like making progress, like committing to making progress is a fair part of the game. I mean, you said that you think it should be there, and I'm like a little different there, where I think like yes, there is some value to it being that way, but also it's like I don't know. I want to just be able to play the game, and I want everyone to be able to play Pokemon. And if you like, there are obviously people who spend money and who like spend a lot of time, and then it's like good for them. But it can really for a lot of people, it's just because you can't really get like all the stuff you're looking for, or a lot of the stuff you're looking for. You just end up kind of just opening packs, and that's about it. You don't end up like developing like a really fun experience. You end up with a pretty surface level experience that way.
Yeah, that is true. I mean, I do think they do need to improve the in-game economy. I think the other economy issue is the currency, the shop tickets, because at this point, I looked at it earlier today. I have 552 shop tickets that at this point I'm just never going to use, because they put a cap on on how many you can spend on the things that actually get you cards, right? The Wonder Pick, the ticket, right? The ones for the pack points,
the hourglass, yeah,
the hourglasses for the packs and for the Wonder Picks. And the other stuff, you can get cosmetics with it, but I'm not going to spend on that because maybe someday I can actually get something useful, but probably not. So, but eventually I have like 10,000 of these tickets that are useless. So I wish, that they should, I should be able to use those somehow productively. I would think.
Yeah, that'd be good. I mean, I don't know. I think it's like a lot of people care because we don't really care about like visuals much at all.
Right.
Like a little bit, but like very little bit. I think most people care a bit more and then do enjoy that. But again, like I don't think people are just like truly like saying like, oh, this is the reason I'm playing the game either. So, um, or I don't know. I guess a lot of people are, but in terms of people playing it, like getting the cards is definitely more important. And I don't know, it feels like the currency. I don't know, it's a mobile game thing, right? There's like lots of currencies,
Yeah.
and they're kind of silly, I guess.
Well, yeah, that's true. There's an absurd amount of currencies for different things, but now that once you play it a little bit, though, the currency's pretty. You know which ones you need to pay attention to. So it was a little overwhelming at first, but that sort of self out. Another thing I'd like to talk about, and you can jump back to something else if you want, but it's the deck builder, which because it kind of ties into what we're talking about, right? The game was in a lot of ways built for collecting first, because that is like with the trading card games where the big money is, but it's also a playable game, and they made it playable, and they've done a pretty good job. And the like we said, the newer cards I think are improving the experience, but the deck builder is probably, well, besides the trading thing, is the worst thing within the game to me. A couple things. One, the auto energy adding isn't good. Because I'm building a deck, and then I put in some and then later on I modify the deck sometimes and put in a Pokemon of a different type, and all of a sudden it puts that energy in automatically. And if I don't remember to take that out, all of a sudden I just save it and I start playing the game, and all of a sudden I'm seeing the wrong energies in the deck. So that's not good. Because even if you set the energy type when you start the deck, if you add another Pokemon later, it changes it automatically. So
Yeah.
they just need to fix that. That should be simple. The other thing is the deck building. Well, first off, I wish it was on computer. We'll talk about it a little bit. The fact is, which this ties in a bit to the computer, you can't copy decks, which even that you can do in the mobile. You should be able to copy a deck and then edit it. Because if you want to try making changes, I don't want to have to remember what it was to change it back, and I don't want to have to. I don't. The deck builder is awkward anyway. Selecting the cards on a phone, I don't like that. Like if I have to type in the name for a card, because it was not so bad early on when it was like just a couple hundred, the number of cards has grown massively. So it's too much to scroll through when I need to find a card. So I need to then type in like 5 different Pokemon names, and I have to, on the phone, it's just awkward going back and forth. So I wish it was on PC. That'd be much better for deck builder. You need to be able to clone decks. You need to be able to import deck lists too. Just the deck building experience to me is awkward. That's one of the off-putting things with Pocket from my perspective.
Yeah, I'd say a lot of those are pretty. I mean, like the energy thing is, I'd say minor. It's not like nothing, but like I mean, you can get
Yeah,
over
I
it,
can
right?
get around it. Yeah, it's annoying though, but yeah, that's not the not the if I had the PC where I had a mouse and a keyboard, it'd be much easier to build a deck. Because like I was building, my deck, like the Raichu deck, which has a stage 2 evolution line and the basics, and every Pokemon I got to start typing in the name because I'm not going to scroll through like the 100 or more lightning Pokemon that there are. And that's annoying. And even the trainers at this point, it's like, okay, which are the one of trainers? And there's enough trainers. It takes time to scroll through the list. So it's got, so typing in, I have to clear it, find the button to clear, have to pop it. It's just a little awkward on the phone building decks to me. It makes it not so much fun. And you can only build 20 decks, which it is more than it used to be. That's good, but it's still not, the deck building, I think isn't as smooth as I'd like it to be.
Yeah, I feel like it's the least polished part of the game. You mentioned trading could be the other one, and I think trading has issues, but and I don't think they're that bad. I don't know. I mean, trading's I'd say a smaller part of the game. I mean, it's a meaningful part of the game. It is a trading card game, but it is still something that the deck builder, like in order to play the game, you have to use the deck builder, and it's always
Yeah.
been something that's fallen short and has gotten minor improvements, but I think it is like it's annoying, and it could be. It's not like every game's gonna have its quirks, but like these are issues that could be fixed easily. These are kind of things I hate to say this. These are the things you kind of see in live, right? Where it's like, oh, this is like a fix that like it's super easy to do, and like they're just not doing it. Like you look at like live, just like expanded friend matches. It should be like very very easy, and they're just not doing it.
Yeah, I mean, Pocket's still a relatively new game, and they have done a good job of implementing it. I do wish, and I want to hear what you say. I do wish you could play it on computer. I get it that they want it to be a phone app. Like with Live, they tried to make it kind of phone mobile first and PC second, but they failed miserably on the mobile side. Obviously, done a good job implementing Pocket for mobile. The games are long enough though. I think being able to play at the computer for me would be nice. Like I said, the deck building's better. Viewing the cards even in game, it's a little awkward on the phone at times. So it needs to be on the phone. So I'm not saying just make it a PC, a computer game. That would not be good. But having it as an option on the computer without having to, you can try to do an emulator on your computer, which I've done some, but that gets just awkward and clunky. So I think making it native for computers as well, to me, would be a plus for the game, especially for the playing side.
Yeah, I think I kind of see where you're coming from, specifically because as you were like kind of saying, it's a longer game for a mobile game. It's like I don't know, I feel like a
Yeah.
mobile game should be consistently I don't know, when I think of mobile games, a lot of them I think are like single player, and there's a single player aspect of Pocket. That being said, I wouldn't really I wouldn't say quitting out of or like yeah, quitting out of a single player game in Pocket is really like the intended experience. It's not like oh you play it then you like resume it. So I'd say and then obviously with multiplayer that's not a thing at all.
Yeah.
So I think that like a good a good mobile game is a game that is like 3 minutes at the longest is kind of where I'd say, or maybe 5 at the longest. I don't know, somewhere in there. Pocket is definitely a little long. It obviously kind of depends what exactly you're doing. There are some faster and slower decks. Playing against someone, it kind of depends on your opponent, but like I don't think any of those things are huge issues. I think the biggest thing is the game's just not like super fast, and it's because there is legitimately interesting depth and like decisions in the game and stuff like that. But it could be simpler to be like a true mobile game, which I don't think the game necessarily needs. I do like the spot where, like, as we're going to talk about the meta a little bit more. I like the situation it's in, but I think it just I don't know. It's not like the ideal mobile game, so it should, yeah, as you were saying, kind of be on PC because it works. Like it kind of works like that. It's I'd say what like half the length of a live game, a pocket game, somewhere like that.
Yeah. I mean, you need to have at least 5 minutes or more, 5 to 10, maybe 5 to 8 minutes is where a game's going. If you have 2 minutes, you can't sit down and probably finish a game against an opponent, right? And even if you're doing against the single player game, there's a good chance you can't finish the game. And for a real mobile game, it should be a little bit shorter. Let me say, a related it ties in with what you're talking about between the single player versus playing against another person. And you've been doing more versus the AI in Pocket. And I do that more than against people too. But what do you think about the different the way the single playing against the AI? They have different. When new sets come out, you get a bunch of challenges, and they have these periodic challenges. We have one of now, right? Looking for what is it?
Yeah,
You, you
Zorg,
know,
I think.
yeah. So, what do you think about the way they've implemented that?
So in terms of like the single player, like the regular stuff for each set, I think it's fine. It's kind of like the main way in which you get cards, which is okay. When I said I was doing it, I'm doing it because I want to get cards, not because that's necessarily what I want to do. I do enjoy playing Pocket against people. I just don't really have the cards that I'm looking for. I could play against people. And the single player campaign is also something because you can like kind of auto battle it and then you can just kind of like ignore it. So I'd say it's like a very basic grinding thing. which is okay. It's not super interesting. The AI is like pretty decent. It's not crazy, but with the way that the cards are designed, I think the AI is able to pilot decks for you and against you pretty well most of the time. So it is like decent, where like the battles can be legitimately like, I don't know if hard, but like kind of hard, right? Especially if you're trying to like do all the challenges associated with them. So I do like that aspect. In terms of the whatever the things are called, like where you're like the Zoroark, the challenges or
Yeah, the
quests or
different
whatever.
special things. Yeah.
Yeah, the events, yeah. And so those
Yeah.
are there, I don't like them. I mean, I think getting new cards that way. I've heard some people, because I made like a video about this a while ago. Some people said they like the event because you get cards, and like, yeah, that's true. Getting cards is fun.
Right.
But outside of that, the way in which you get cards, the pack opening experience, in my opinion, is too long. I've talked about the gameplay being too long, but I think the pack
Mm.
experience is a bit too long, like a bigger deal there. But especially for when you're opening one card, and most of the cards aren't very interesting, right? I'd say almost all of them are pretty boring. Um, and just one card at a time, and it's like maybe 10 seconds. I don't know if that number's right, but 10 seconds and you get like one card, and then you get like a lot of these packs. So you're going to be opening
Yeah.
like, you could be opening 10 of them. You could be spending like a minute opening like just 10 cards or something. And the cards aren't that interesting. Most of them are going to be duplicates anyways. And they're not like necessarily like good cards or cool looking cards. Some of them are, but even the coolest ones are, I'd say, kind of meh. Not bad, but I don't know. I'm not in love with them. I'm honestly like, I pretty much don't like them. Also, I believe, I don't think you can't trade for promos, right? Um,
No, I don't
okay.
think so. And there are promo exclusive cards, which is a problem too. I don't know if they'll ever address that.
Yeah. So I don't like, I don't know. I just don't like that. I think it's not a huge issue, and it does have some cool aspects to it, but I think it's something that's a bit flawed there. I think in general, the events are kind of meh. They're kind of another thing to kind of just get you to play the game, but they're not getting you to play the game because there's interesting or meaningful content. Just like capitalizing on like fear of missing out, or just like generic stuff to do that's relatively easy, that also like takes up time, so they just get people playing the game more. And I don't know, I feel like that's one of the like those cheap mobile game things that you can see, and I just not a huge fan of that, but the regular single player battles I think are pretty good.
Okay. I mean, I think the special events is a way to get collectors to play the game, right?
Yeah.
Now I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what they think. I don't know that how they view collecting versus playing in their design of things, but that's kind of what it's doing. There's always if you want to do single player, there's usually some single player thing that's you can do. I mean, you can play single player anytime you want,
Yeah.
but usually you'll get some reward for it most of the time. And like you said, you need to play the single player things to get a lot of the the shop tickets, right?
Yeah,
Or
and you
the
get some
or
hourglasses too.
yeah, so you need to so they've kind of you get us they've done I think a decent amount of accessibility. You get to open a reasonable amount of packs, but of course to get the cards you want, that's the trickiness to close things out. That's kind of the gap I think, with the trading system being clunky. But look, it's all in all, it is a good game though. There's things we don't like. I think they've done a pretty good job all in all. It could get better. It hasn't been around that long, right? Less than a year. I don't remember when it dropped, but it was
uh
late last year, right?
yeah, I think it's been less than a year. It's a little under a year, I think, but it's pretty close.
It's getting close to that point. Okay.
But
Yeah, October 30th. It dropped the end of October.
okay.
Looking
That
at
was
the most.
the full game release.
I think so. It says Genetic Apex October 30th
Okay,
of
and then there
24.
was like, obviously there's a lot of reveals before then. I was revealed at Worlds, and then there was like the beta, and there was like a bunch of
Yeah.
different things. But anyways, yeah. So I think where it's at, it's good. I was nervous that they were gonna kind of get. I feel like there was a point at which, so it started like good, I guess, but it's just a new thing. It was like just a pure like hype train as well, I'd say. Where people were just like doing it because it was popular, and there was like a lot of, honestly, there was like a lot of content on it that was just kind of meh, honestly. I mean, I'm not
Yeah.
gonna sit here and say like the kind of we're making is crazy, but there's a lot of content that people are just making because they're like, oh, I want to like do something popular. And I think now it's gotten to a point where the community in general, for Pocket, like some people have been like, oh, I don't like it as much, and so they've moved away from it. So then the people who are actually playing it are really enjoying it. And it's gotten to a good place where it's like not some hype like just something built on hype. It's something that's built on something that's legitimately decent. And then the Pokemon Company has also responded to that very well in DNA and stuff, where they've tried to make a good game. They've um, done the things that they've done from the start well. They've continued to do those things well. The things that they've made mistakes with, they've worked on improving them. They haven't gone too fast. I would not mind them going faster. I like things to go fast, but um, I do. I don't know. I like where it is.
Yeah, I mean faster. I guess you'd like maybe faster in terms of developing the game, but I don't think you want to see them faster in printing more card sets, which I think
I
they're
don't
doing
know.
pretty
I don't know. Well,
quickly.
see, this is where I'm different because I play the game, especially with the regular Pokemon TCG. This is a big disconnect between me and other people, where I don't play it as much. I mean, I play like a decent amount, but like compared to the amount of like content I make on it, um, and like compared to my like the viewers who play it a lot, I don't play it that much. But I like looking at new cards. So my favorite thing
Okay.
in the Pokemon TCG is looking at new cards. So I guess I wouldn't mind them printing new cards. More. I do like the amount that they're printing. I've heard that a criticism. I mean, and I do get it, but where like you're not able to keep up, but I like it. I like the new cards. It's not like I don't know. I like new stuff. I always like new stuff. So and it's like the cards are interesting. It's not just like complete filler every time or anything like that.
Right. There's essentially a set a month, basically.
Yeah.
Really, there is. The only, I guess they didn't have one in November last year, but it came out October 30th. So it's every month. So it makes it tough for getting the cards, right? In
It
that
does. Yeah.
sense. That's the downside. If they printed like half the number of sets, then you would start to get a better, you'd get more of the cards you want, right? Because you'd be
Yeah.
opening more of the same packs. So, but that's the balance that they have there. So,
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
yes,
One more thing with that.
yeah,
Obviously it's a new game, so like at the beginning there weren't that many cards. They need to print a lot of cards to establish like a game, like in a meta and stuff
y-
like that. So then theoretically they could slow it down once the game like ends up with enough cards to like have a full format. I don't know if they're gonna do that, but they could.
yeah, and I don't think we're going to talk about it today. I'm just going to mention at some point they're going to rotate, right? And when will
Yeah.
that be? Because they've got it's a pretty full set of cards. It feels like to me right now,
Yeah,
honestly.
and they have like regulation marks. They're all A, right? Unless I'm
Uh,
forgetting something.
um, do they have regulation marks? I haven't
Well
been
the
paying attention.
sets have
Oh, the sets on them. Yeah, it's all A. Yeah,
yeah.
from A1 to A4 now. So
So if I had to guess, it would be A for the first year, B for the second year, just like the regular TCG. And as we were saying, it's
okay.
coming up on the second year.
Okay, so yeah, so we'll see soon what they're going to do, right? Is it going to be the B set, and then I guess every so often they'll drop a letter, right?
Mhm.
So okay, yeah, maybe the same as the TCG. I don't know. Although this is a G too. The naming thing is I've complained about that before too, right? Because it is
Yeah, yeah,
it is the pocket TCG pocket. The other is just the TCG with a pause after it.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so, but you just call it pocket. It works. So you want to talk about some of the decks now, or something else?
Yeah, I guess I think I'm looking here at Limitless. So that, well, the top deck is Suicune, and you said you've been playing that. So I figure you can start with that because I haven't played that yet.
Yeah, Suicune and that Suicune Greninja is top at like 16%. And if you hit the combined button, it's now 22% Suicune. And actually, there's Suicune Greninja, and then they also have a listing for Suicune Giratina, which is like the seventh most played deck, and I think that might actually have the highest win rate. And they both are winning a lot.
Yeah, I think
Suicune
it's like the
Giratina,
same deck too. Just looking at it, it's
it
like
is.
pretty much.
It is because I had the Suicunes and I was looking at it, and some of the decks are actually the exact same 20 cards too. So
Right.
I don't know how they classify it. Like sometimes there's one other Pokemon, but most of the time it's the exact same cards. So,
Yeah. Oh,
um,
so I guess I'll quickly talk about the way that Limitless work does it. If you notice in like regular TCG, if we look at the metagame, you can see like decks like Gholdengo, whatever, Dragapult, stuff like that, and then you see other at number 11 here. Into Pocket it does not have other. The decks are categorized like automatically. I mean they're
okay.
categorized I guess automatically in the regular TCG, but there's like some groupings. It's like, oh, if you're playing this card and this card and this card, then it's Goldengo or whatever. But no, in Pocket it's not. So there's like in the regular TCG there is how many different decks in Standard? There are 127, which is a bunch, but it's like a bunch. But then if you look at Pocket, you look at it and there's like 400 or something. Because again, it's done automatically just with like the two top cards in it.
Yeah, 372 decks. It may change, right? Because Limitless is
Yeah.
kind of a competitive focused for things, and now Pocket is newer. It is coming. What is like a just like a exhibition or something to the world, and I imagine it'll be officially competitive down the road. So things may shift that way. But getting to Suicune, like to that, the Suicune itself is very nice with its ability, Legendary Pulse, and I find I do get to start it a lot. That's obviously a big deal if you don't. Getting that extra card draw is quite nice. You play because that the game has rare candy, and I actually pulled the rare candy. I was going to craft it because I needed a second rare candy, but you don't. You can play the Greninja line stage 2. You don't have to play because of rare candy the stage 1, and because the Suicune gets you cards, you can actually eventually, without the Suicune's ability, it would seem you'd have to sometimes wait like 6 turns before, if you didn't play the stage 1 before you could get the Greninja evolved or more. So it just sets up pretty well. You're doing the 20 ping from that. You're doing the, 80, 100 range pretty often with Suicune. You set up pretty quickly. The decks all play Giratina that I'm playing, usually 2 copies there. I don't attack with Giratina that often, I gotta say, just because it takes 3 psychic energies. The deck that you only play the water energy. That's one where, of course, you have to make the change. I put the Giratina in.
Yeah.
Early game, you get the Suicune in the active, and you power up the Giratina with your ability a couple times. It does do 130, so it does swing for more damage and has higher HP, so that's nice. When I started playing some of these newer decks, I started playing Mars, which I hadn't played in the past. And I do like that in the deck. So like it has 1 copy of that, and I do like that a lot. Your opponent shuffles their hand, their deck draws 1 for each of their, I was gonna say prize cards, but the points remaining. So that's pretty good. Once they knock out the Suicune, then I hit him with the Mars, and I usually do have access to that. Get them down to 1 card, so that's a big plus in the deck. So you have two copies of the Irida with the healing. That's quite nice. Don't have to play the Misties, so I don't need the coin flip for the energy. So it just sets up, works pretty well, and it's just a pretty good deck. And it 1 Cyrus with the Greninja's pinging, then you can gust up that 1 card you want it whenever you want. So it works pretty well.
Yeah. So you talk more about Giratina because like I don't know, I've seen like Giratina EX is played a lot. I'm as
Yeah.
said, I don't really like the card. We'll talk about I think Greninja, yeah, Darkrai, Giratina, Darkrai in a second. And I guess I don't know which of us we'll probably both talk about that, but
Yeah.
I played that deck and I don't like Giratina that much. But what are your thoughts?
Yeah, the Giratina, I don't. I mean, I still have 2 copies of it. I changed the deck recently, my Suicune deck, but it's kind of there if you because you're not attacking turn 1 ever, so you start getting some energy on it. Especially if you go first, then you're not at. It's nice to just start to get some energies building up. So it's okay. It seems like there should be a better card, though. I will say that. I'm playing the Giratina. That's what I'm seeing, but I would like to find an alternate to it. So,
Yeah, wait, alternate as in like what are you
some
looking
other
for it to do?
Pokemon. Um,
Because like
I,
Giratina is
in the,
kind of self-sufficient, but like not exactly. And then it's like pretty strong, but it's not that much stronger than Suicune.
right, and it does 22 itself when it attacks. So then, if you attack with it, you're down to 130. Part of the issue with it is you're doing the single player ones, and a lot of those are against darkness decks, right? If that's what you're doing, then
Oh
of
no,
course
yeah, I've done
Giratina's.
this against people a lot as well. I play Giratina EX a lot there.
So it's kind of something to hide behind. The deck plays a leaf, so you let it take some hits, and you often I don't attack with it much though. So I think an alternate attacker that I could actually attack with probably would be better. So, but the deck it is doing it is very successful, and I found it to be good too. So I don't want to criticize it too much.
Yeah, okay. Well, speaking of criticizing too much, I'll talk about Greninja Darkrai here. I love Darkrai EX. I'm not gonna lie. Darkrai EX is probably my favorite Pokemon in Pocket. Darkrai EX, when you attach an
Yeah.
energy to it from an energy zone, you do, sorry, Darkness energy, you do 20 damage to your opponent's active. And then with Giratina EX, of course, you have the ability to accelerate psychics to yourself, to a psychic to yourself, and then end your turn, and you have that 130 damage attack, which is a lot more than Darkrai, which is like different than Suicune, where Darkrai is both more expensive than Suicune and dealing less damage than Suicune. Well, it's not necessarily doing less damage, but it can be. And then so like Giratina kind of is a bigger part of it as like a very crucial attacker there. That being said, as we were kind of saying, I don't know, I feel like a lot of the time, I mean, if you're using Giratina's ability, you're not attacking, you're potentially losing out on a turn of damage there. And then it is like it's not super tanky. Again, same thing with Suicune. Darkrai has the same HP, which is 10 less than Giratina, but if Giratina attacks, it's 10 more. So, um, I don't. I don't know. It's a good deck though. It's pretty straightforward in terms of, or it's very straightforward in terms of Pokemon. It's two Darkrai's, two Giratinas. You can put other stuff in if you want, like counter to or Oricorio if you're looking for that. But I do like Darkrai EX a lot. I do like it paired with walls. We're definitely gonna talk about some of the walling Pokemon. I mean, I guess we'll talk about Oricorio now real quick. Um, Oricorio's played in a bunch of different decks, but Oricorio is a Pokemon that for Lightning Colorless does 50, but then it walls EXs. It can't take damage from them. What damage from attacks, right? Yeah, it's definitely damage from
Right.
attacks because you can damage it with Darkrai EX if you're looking to do that. Then you have like general trainers here for like support. You got some disruption, you got some healing, which is kind of disruption. You got like draw, you got gust, you got things like that.
Yeah. Now, when I played most decks, I played with Oricorio. I trying to remember which one. I think it was in my Suicune deck originally because I think people were playing with that. And I don't like Oricorio in decks that can't attack with. I gotta say,
Okay.
which obviously you can't do that in Darkrai either, right? It's just
Um.
there,
Yeah.
and so if your opponent can hit through it, it's just a liability. Or sometimes it helps against some things, but not against others. So I don't love it. Especially it's a three prize game or 3 point game. So if they knock out your Darkrai and they can't take out your Oricorio, that's game over. You'd rather have them have to hit through two big Pokemon. So and you can't get the Oricorio out of play, right? There's nothing to scoop it up
Yeah. I
out
don't
of
think
play at
so.
this point. So I don't love it. Now the Oricorio, I now have the Raikou deck, so that can actually attack with the Oricorio. So I feel a little better about it in that deck. So that I don't love that aspect. I just find it was awkward, and I found it when I was playing. Because I like Darkrai a lot as well. So the Oricorio part, I was a little sketch. I found it a little sketchy myself.
Yeah, I will say there is Pichu from Wisdom of Sea and Sky here, which is a card
Yeah.
that I think you talked about a little, where it accelerates lightning energy and accelerates it for free. So you could play it in a deck that isn't playing lightning energy in its energy zone normally, and
Right.
play Pichu to get your Oricorio powered up because it's only one lightning there. That's kind of sketchy because obviously Oricorio is there to like deny points. Pichu is an easy point for your opponent, so it was like kind of weird and kind of productive there. But theoretically, Oricorio could be enough really on its own to kind of win you games if it can attack just a little bit with like a little support from other things. Um, like something like Greninja. But speaking of Greninja is also like bad for Oricorio, just kind of cutting through it there. So I'd say Oricorio is like meta dependent, but it can be very good. I mean, if you look at something like Darkrai EX, Giratina EX, then the deck I was playing for a while, and I'm gonna revisit it once I start playing against people, is Darkrai EX with walls, with like Oricorio
Okay.
or Oricorio, Druddigon, and also Shaman. So because I was seeing a lot of Darkrai Giratina, or a decent amount, you pretty much just wall them completely. They do the 22, but you also heal a little bit. So they're doing very little damage. You're doing very little damage back because you're also doing your damage from Darkrai EX. I think if both people played perfectly, you actually tie, because you'll hit the turn limit. But um, it's like I don't know. I do like Oricorio. I like the depth it adds. I'm a big fan of Mimikyu in standard. I don't play it too much, but it is very strong. Potentially.
Yeah, no, Darkrai is quite nice. I enjoy it as well. I've been playing it mostly with Weavile that
Okay,
attacks for
yeah.
when energy does 70 if they're damaged, so you have to get the energies going properly. Although you have the supporter that will move an energy from the bench to the active as well. Was that Dawn, I think it is.
Yeah.
So which is important because at some point in the game you usually need to do the damage by when you're attached to Darkrai, but you still need to get an energy onto the Weavile to attack with. So that's not bad there. I think I may have a Darkrai Arceus deck, which yeah, that one I played a little. That one didn't make a lot of sense to me. That one plays potentially the Pichu, the Magby, or the water one,
Mantike.
right?
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter. And because I was looking at decks and I was like, oh wait, I don't have the whichever. I don't have the Magby, but oh wait, I have the Mantike. So I'll just put that in
Yeah.
instead
Oh, wait,
because
sorry,
I
just
don't.
looking at this. I think Mantike is better because you could use Irida, and you could also be threatening Irida even if you don't have it. Um, I will
Okay.
mention that there. But Yeah, I mean Arceus. Wait, so sorry, what doesn't make sense? The fact that they play the different ones, it confused you at first, or
It
you were
was just
just
yeah, it was very confusing.
oh yeah.
It just plays Darkness Energy because that's what you need to attach to Darkrai. And then Arceus's attack is quite nice, so I do like that in the past. And I played that with the metal with Dialga,
Uh,
which was a nice but yeah, because this one plays as well, plays the Kumala which I put in, and I was like,
it's there for
but
Oricorio, I think.
okay,
But it's
okay,
like it's kind of bad the rest of the time. I mean it's not like the worst.
all right, yeah, I can see that because otherwise you can't deal with Oricorio. Well, you can gut if you can get in the act of the Oricorio, you can work through it with Darkrai eventually, but it's a lot of turns.
Yeah. But then there's also because you haven't been playing. I guess we'll talk about the EV stuff some, but Espeon Sylveoniax. I think I've talked about Sylveoniax a lot. I already do some out in this video already, but you can draw 2 when you play it. You can also do 70 for 2, which is a pretty tame attack, and the ability is also pretty tame. But I think the card still has interesting depth, at least in terms of like deck building. It's 70, but it is a colorless and a psychic there, so you do need to really be playing psychic. You could pair it with something that's not psychic. Um, and just have it as draw. And then there's Espeon EX with an interesting little healing ability. There's the EVEX and the single point EV where you're able to go ahead and evolve the EVEX into an evolution. And you just have a lot of different options with it. You have a bunch of different evolutions. Well, you have like a Sylveon and an Espeon single point Pokemon, and then you also have 2 of each of the EXs, and then you have like, I don't know, the EV stuff is just pretty fun. I guess I'll quickly mention Ultra Beast as well. The Ultra Beasts have like some mechanic stuff. You got like Lusamine, Celesteela, and so you have like some different forms of support for the Ultra Beast. But I think the EV support is even more interesting. You got EV Bag, do more damage or to heal, and it's like versatile there. So I don't know. I really do like the EV stuff. There's other evolutions as well, which are like, I mean, Flareon's good and stuff like that. But I really like what they've done with the evolutions in Pocket. I feel like the evolutions are cool because they're unique, and they really embrace that with Pocket here.
Yeah, honestly I've struggled to get the
Oh
evolutions, is
yeah,
what I'll
no, me
say.
too. I have not found them. Maybe it's one of the
Um,
sets where like the Polaroids are bad. I don't know.
I think so. Well, I'm looking at because typically the sets have 5 EXs, so the EV Grove has 6 EXs, so that hurts it because I don't think they increase the odds. So your odds of getting what you need are reduced, and I think some of the sets they're in weren't great. I did have Buzz. I pulled a couple Buzzwole, so I've played with that, and that's not a bad. And I can enjoy that deck, I will say. Although the Ultra Beast support's not, it's okay, but it's not wasn't as meaningful as I was hoping it would be. I would say from my perspective.
Yeah, I was kind of like raving about the support for these cards. It's nothing crazy. It's like fine. There's like I think there's 3 different things like that. There's the EV support, there's the Ultra Beast support, and there's the Arceus support. I don't know if I'm forgetting something. And there's kind of like a subjective grouping of cards, but like they're solid. They're nothing crazy, but they add a little more depth to the game. Each one of them. So I think the Ultra Beast you got like as I said, Celesteela, Lusamine, some other things as well. And they're okay.
Yeah, they've done an okay job. I mean, the trainers are still not what the game's about, right? Pokemon's about the Pokemon anyway, but I think they're even more focused in Pocket than in the TCG. Maybe that'll change over time. I don't know.
I
With that.
guess. I mean, I still feel like well, I mean, so when we talk about the regular TCG, you say that the game's about items, and I say it's about supporters. So to me, it's like, oh well, it's like half your deck supporters or something like that. So it's about trainers a lot for me. I feel like the supporters are I mean, research is pretty simple. It's like you play it when you got it, assuming you don't have something else you have to do. The
Yeah.
healing can be pretty meaningful in games. Even more so, like a lot more so than the regular TCG. I guess there's a Monkey Dory, but I'd say it is more meaningful in Pocket. You can look at Gusting, but Gusting is more limited, so you need to play more carefully with that. I'd say Disruption doesn't feel as impactful. But there is Marios and there's like Red Card and stuff. And then there's a variety of supporters which do different things, which are like I'd say moderately impactful. Um, a single supporter probably isn't changing the game, but it's also in a spot where there's like not as many different trainers and cards in your deck, so things are more predictable. You can kind of like plan out better. This is the regular TCG. I'd say like yes, obviously planning is an important part of the game, but you're not like mapping out everything you're doing. You're like vaguely mapping out, like prize mapping or something like that.
Yeah.
But in Pocket, you can like very much predict your opponent's plays, and I think that's a more interesting part of the game with trainers and Pokemon. But I still feel like trainers are important, especially with the Pokemon not being like as interesting.
Well, I mean, probably the percentage of trainers in a deck is higher than in Pocket than TCG. And even though we might disagree
Well,
over
that's because there's
items
less
versus
energies.
right, because there's not energy, so the decks are mostly trainers, right? And so even though we disagree on supported items, we agree trainers are really super important in the TCG, and
Yeah.
and they're and they're and they're important in Pocket too. The thing is, where I would say they're less important in Pocket, and you may disagree on me, is just because they're much more random. Which trainers you're going to get, what the trainers do is more random. So do you get the right trainer at the right time? Like looking at this Buzzwole deck,
Sorry.
you
So
know, with
which
Eric.
trainers are more random?
Well, a lot of it's there are the coin flip things, but mostly it's not. It's just do you have the trainer you need at the time?
Yeah.
You know, and if you play Pokeball, what card do you get and such? You just because there's no searching for anything, what you get, the results of trainers is more random as well, I think.
Yeah, I do kind of see that. I don't know. I feel like it works decently. I don't think that it's like I think randomness is okay in Pocket. I don't think it's too much. I think, randomness in a fast game, if you get like unlucky, you can just like run another one. And as I said, I think it's not quite fast enough for that, but I do like the direction it's heading in. The more trainers that come out, I think the more depth there will be. I think more draw would be good. As I said, there's like mostly just research and Pokeball. So more of that would be nice. There are more Pokemon that are doing that, but if even more come out, that'd be cool as well. So I don't know. I think we'll just kind of see where it ends up.
Yeah, look, I think the game is. I think we both agree the game is a lot better now than it was when it first started. So that's a good thing. And I imagine they had some of this mapped out. They probably kept it kind of vanilla at first anyway. And I'm sure, and they're paying attention to responding too. So I think they're doing a good job with Pocket, in responding, and it's monetized, but it's not. It's not like it's not overly monetized in that you can't play the game without it. So it's in a good place. And I think it's I think it's going to become more of a good thing. Is it going to become how much of an alternative to TCG it's going to become? That's where I'm not sure. The difference between that and the full TCG aren't as big as I thought they would be when they first announced Pocket. So it's kind of just like a mini version of the TCG. If they get Pocket worked out a little better, I think more and more people may prefer Pocket over the TCG as time goes on. I'm not sure though.
Yeah, I honestly right now the way I kind of view it is like an alternate format, um, where it's
Yeah.
like smaller stuff and it's different cards. But I mean that's like true. Different cards is true for alternate formats. So I do like the spots in. I think it's still got some room to grow though. And again, like collecting in the regular TCG with physical cards is obviously a really huge part of it. And Pocket's not gonna truly replace that. I think a lot of people just don't. I don't know. People are kind of just like against Pocket because it's not real cards or not physical cards. So I think that'll like keep the regular TCG afloat. Um, but anyways, I think Pocket's in a good position, and I'm looking forward to seeing what's the future for it. I don't think either of us are planning to just like do Pocket content like all the time or anything like that. But we're definitely looking forward to the future of it. But we hope you enjoyed the episode here today. Make sure you check us out on YouTube as well. 10 Types in Uncommon Fossil there. And if you have comments, leave comments on those on our channels there. But you can listen to us on podcasting platforms if you want. Just don't comment there because we won't see it. I mean, you could, but again, we won't see it. But we hope you enjoyed. And as always, we're excited to see you in the next episode.
Take care.